Hello, and welcome to Accounting 210 Legal Environment that will be running for the January 2022 online session at Susquehanna University. My name is Michelle DeMary, and I'll be your instructor for the next 4 weeks as we zip through a lot of material that will introduce you to the legal environment within which businesses work and operate. And I hope you'll learn a lot over the next 4 weeks. This video is intended as kind of a little bit of an introduction to me, but more importantly, an introduction to the class. It's kind of like the first day of class when we run through a syllabus in an in-person class. So I'm going to review the syllabus and a little bit about the Blackboard site so that you're familiar with all the material. I'm saying something now that I will say several times in this video, but that is the fact that this 4 weeks will go really fast. So it particularly is important that you pay attention to where you can find materials, to make sure if you have any questions, that you get back to me as soon as possible to let me know what those questions are so that we can make sure that you can be successful in this course over the next 4 weeks. So let's start with the syllabus here. My email address is there. My home phone, my cell phone number is there. You should feel free to call me at reasonable hours or call and leave a message. Preferably no texts. I prefer not to text with students, but I would certainly accept emails as well as phone calls. For office hours for this class, I have found over the last 4 years or so of running these online classes that I can schedule office hours and sit here at my computer and people never show up. However, if we make one-on-one appointments, we're much more likely to have a meeting and have some constructive time together. So I will ask at the beginning of every class whether or not anybody wants to make an appointment to meet with me. I am more than happy to meet with students. I just find it's a much more constructive use of time if we make appointments to meet at some point during the week that is convenient for the two of us, rather than for me to kind of sit here at my computer and wait for people to show up. It's been particularly clear to me that when we have our synchronous classes that I will talk about in a few minutes, that students will often meet with me for a few minutes before then or after then with any questions or concerns that they may have, and I'm really very happy to meet with students. So all you need to do is reach out to me and let me know that, okay? Email will be my primary source of communication, so please do check your email regularly. I will make every effort should you email me to get back to you within 12 hours. I usually say 24 during the semester, but obviously with only 4 weeks, things move pretty quickly. So if you have any questions or concerns, I will certainly try to get back to you about those as soon as possible. And I would ask that you do the same so that when I send out a request of any kind, that you get back to me as soon as you can. Technology is essential, obviously, to an online class. There's information here in the syllabus. There's also information that you will find on our Blackboard site about technology troubleshooting. This class will use a program called MindTap that is a part of the Cengage publishing company, the publisher for your text. Almost everything that you will do will be accessed on MindTap through Blackboard. So you will need to be able to access Blackboard, and if you have any trouble with that, you should be in touch right away with Susquehanna, either the IT desk, the help desk, their address is here as well as their phone number. And then beyond that, if you're having trouble with the MindTap application, you can certainly contact me, but I would just turn around and contact Cengage. And so it makes a whole lot more sense for you to contact them directly. I've used this program with them now for about 4 years, and it's been my experience that they're very responsive to people with questions and concerns. So should you have any problems at all, you should be reaching out to them right away. Okay. Susquehanna has, the IT folks at Susquehanna remind me that in using both Blackboard as well as for MindTap, you're better off if you use a laptop or a desktop computer rather than your phone or your tablet. You can probably access things that way, but it may diminish your ability to successfully work through all of the quizzes, the videos, etc. that will be a part of the class. And so I encourage you to consider doing the classwork on a laptop or a desktop computer, okay? And really important, and you'll find this probably noted several times in the syllabus and on Blackboard, but that when you're accessing MindTap, you must enable pop-ups. Otherwise, you won't be able to access the material. So please be sure to do that. We will use the Essentials of the Legal Environment today. It's still the 5th edition is the electronic copy that will be a part of the packet that you will purchase. There are a couple of things that are outdated and that I will bring to your attention, but for the most part, what makes a contract hasn't changed over the course of the last 10 years, and so this makes little difference in regard to the material that you will study that is essential to our class. You can order this either from Susquehanna's bookstore, or you can also order it directly from them. I think I already sent you information on this. There's also information that you can find on Blackboard about accessing the program. It's digital access. You will not need to use a key code, which you might be asked about should you try to log in, because you will be logging in through Blackboard. The first time you log in through Blackboard, they'll ask you for a username and password, and then after that, you'll be able to automatically, almost seamlessly move from Blackboard into the MindTap environment. So this should work pretty well. My experience has been that students are much more savvy on these materials than I have ever been. But if you have any problems or difficulties at all, again, please let me know as soon as possible so that we can get that corrected, okay? This course will give you snippets and pieces of information. It's an overview of material that is essential to understanding the environment, the legal environment, the political environment within which businesses operate. Someday when you own your own business, you will probably have to either go to law school or hire yourself a lawyer to be able to handle the intricacies of the legal concerns of a business. But this will give you at least a flavor of many of the things that you need to think about and understand in order to understand the legal environment. I encourage you to review the learning objectives that you will find on the syllabus. Again, the syllabus is posted on Blackboard and will be sent to you as an attachment to an email that I will be sending to you shortly. The other thing to remember about this class is that it not only fulfills a requirement for many of you in the business school and a variety of other majors because of the content of the material, but it also fulfills the interdisciplinary and ethics-intensive elements of the Susquehanna Central Curriculum. And several of the assignments are chosen specifically for that reason, and you'll see that throughout the semester, throughout our 4 weeks. Particularly the ethics intensive will be connected to some of the videos you will watch and questions you will answer in regard to those videos. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. The privacy statement here, I encourage you to read. This should appear in any online course that you're taking at Susquehanna, and it reminds you that you're expected to do your own work. We all know that in the world of online work, it is sometimes easier to cheat than even it is in the real world or in the in-person world. Please know that that will be taken seriously, and you need to be very careful about doing your own work at all times, okay? The assignments that you will do for this class will include the following. First, I do have an attendance and participation expectation, which seems a little bizarre for an online class, particularly one that is expected to run asynchronously. But I find it is helpful if we get together just once a week for about 45 minutes to talk about some of the material that you've studied for that week, to answer questions you may have about the assignments that you're working on, to talk about what's going on in the real world and how that may connect to some of the material that we are in fact studying. So we'll find a time that is convenient for those of us in the class. Sometimes I'll have to choose 2 different sessions that you can choose from in order to make it's convenient for everybody. And to encourage you to participate, you will get points if you show up over and above the 1,000 points that are assigned for the class. And if you miss more than one, however, you will be deducted, I will deduct 25 points from your final grade, which is pretty substantial. It's a 1,000 point scale, so it's 25 out of 1,000. And you will get the 5 points for attending if in fact you do participate at all during our time together. If you just show up, that's fine, and you won't get any points deducted, but you don't get any points added either. So some level of participation will in fact be expected. And I will send out to you 1 or 2 days before our synchronous session some questions and materials and things to think about so that you'll be prepared for our class together, okay? Now you will find on MindTap that there are some things that are not graded. There are worksheets for each chapter. We will cover 12 chapters throughout the course of our 4 weeks together, 3 chapters each week. And for each chapter, there are between 2 and 4 worksheets that you can choose to do or not. There'll be multiple choice and true and false drawn directly from the text. and they will mirror pretty closely some of the quizzes you will take as well as the exam questions you will have, which will be graded. So it is probably to your advantage to do these worksheets. Number one, it will help you to figure out whether or not you're actually understanding the material that you're reading. And secondly, they will help you to prepare for your quizzes and the exam. And it's been my experience that those who in fact do take time to do these worksheets, in fact, invariably do better on the quizzes and the exams. So that is your choice to make. There will be a quiz for each chapter. So that's 12 quizzes. I will count the 10 highest grades towards your final grade so that your quizzes, which the MindTap environment refers to as brief hypotheticals, will be worth 100 points total, 10 points per quiz. Throughout the next 4 weeks, you will have a variety of assignments that will be due for the first 3 chapters, and then for the second 3 chapters the second week, the third 3 chapters the third week, etc. All of the assignments for the chapters that we will study that week will be due by 11 p.m. on the Friday of that week, no exceptions. Okay, so it's really important that you stay on top of this and that all the work for week 1 will be done by 11 o'clock p.m. that first Friday. All of the work for week 2 will be done by 11 o'clock p.m. that second Friday. Or if it's not done, you will end up getting zeros for that, and there's no reason for that. The material in this course will keep you on your toes, but it is manageable and can be done within the course of a week. So I encourage you to stay on top of things, includes in quizzes. So you will have 3 quizzes that you will do each week. You will have an exam at the end of each week, each exam worth 100 points that will mirror very much the quizzes. Right? So there will be 50 questions. The difference between the quizzes and the exams, beside the fact that there are more questions on the exams and they're worth more points, are that the quizzes you can take twice. And there's no time limit. So you can use the text, you can look for the answers, you can try and figure out what it is that they're asking and give the correct answer. The exams are open book. You're certainly welcome to use the text, but you only get 1 chance, and they're timed. So you have 60 minutes to answer 50 questions. That has been sufficient for most every student that I have worked with. You'll have plenty of time to do them and to go back and check your answers if you're so inclined. But you will only get 1 chance, and it will be timed for 60 minutes. Okay. Each week as well, I will ask you to post on our discussion board that is available on Blackboard, a different discussion board for each week. It's a chance to try and have some sort of conversation, even though it's asynchronous, about things that are going on in the real world and how they might connect to what it is that we're doing each week. You will find on the first week's discussion board, I've started the conversation by posting, I think 1, maybe 2 articles that might be of interest to the material that we will in fact be studying throughout the first week of the class, to give you an idea of the kinds of things that I'm looking for. There will be 25 points per week for a total of 100 points. A fuller description of this assignment as well as the assignments that follow here will be found on the Blackboard site. So you can refer to those to get a better sense of both what it is I'm expecting and what the grading criteria are, both for quality and quantity of posts on the discussion board. Okay. The second graded thing that you will have to write will be video reaction papers. On the MindTap site, I have chosen 1 and some weeks 3 videos for you to view that deal often with ethical questions that encourage us to consider where the line is between the law and ethical behavior, and what you would do if you were in a business situation in regarding to sometimes questionable actions that may fall somewhere on that gray line that may in fact be legal but may not in fact be ethical, to encourage you to think about those questions. On those weeks when there are 3 videos, you only need to answer 1 of the questions, okay? So it gives you options. The videos themselves are produced by MindTap. They're a little cheesy, but they're not bad, and they last only about 2 or 3 minutes. So they're pretty simple. And associated with each of those, then I have written a question that I will ask you to write a 1 to 2 page paper on that you will submit on Blackboard in a Word document attached to the assignment link. We'll show you that in a minute. That's worth 200 points, 50 points a week. For this assignment, as well as the next one, the Applied Business Law, as well as the discussion board, my goal is to get you to apply the material that you are in fact reading about. right? So you're going to get more points if you make direct reference to the text, if you talk about specific items that we've talked about in the text that week and apply them to whatever it is you're writing about, okay? Your opinion on the variety of things that get asked will be fine, and you'll get some points for writing those papers, but the more clearly you can connect that to the things that you're learning, the higher your grade will be, okay? The other written piece that you will submit each week will be an applied business law assignment. I will ask you during the first week of the class to choose a business that you might want to manage, own, operate someday. It can be a fictional business or it can be a real business. During the first week, you will simply describe that business to me. For the next 3 weeks, you will choose one, maybe two of the concepts that we're talking about during that week, and you will think about how that will apply to the business that you're running. So again, it will be an attempt to get you to think about how the concepts that we're studying apply in the real world. Okay. And last but not least, there is an assignment that will be due at the end of the semester, at the end of the 4 weeks, where you will be expected to interview 2 alumni that I will assign to you who are in fact attorneys from Susquehanna. Let me rephrase that. Attorneys who graduated from Susquehanna as undergraduates. And to interview them and talk to them a little bit about their experience with the law, what it's been like to practice as a lawyer, how they might have experienced some of the things that you will be reading about in regard to contracts and intellectual property and torts, etc., through the course of their experiences as an attorney. That will, in fact, be due the last week of the class. Okay. More about that, and again, a full description of this assignment will be found on Blackboard. Okay. As I noted, I use a 1,000-point scale because I don't like decimals, so it's no different than a 100-point scale you might find, but it's 1,000 points instead. Okay. You will find then that for each week, the schedule and assignment deadlines look very similar. Right? So for instance, for week 1, if I can get it all on one page here so that you can see it all together. Obviously, Monday, January 3rd to Friday, January 7th. Remember that all assignments must be completed by 11 o'clock p.m. on that Friday, and the same will be true each week. In addition to the things that are listed below, and you will note that those things that are bolded are those things that are graded. You will have to post to the discussion board. You will have to complete your applied business law assignment at some point during the week for both of those. On the discussion board, I encourage you not to wait until the end of the week because in some instances you will not only be posting, but you'll also be responding to other students' posts. And if everybody waits till 5 o'clock on Friday to do this assignment, there's not a whole lot to respond to. So if you do some of this throughout the course of the week, it makes for a more robust conversation, I have found. Okay. The week 1 is a little different because this kind of Welcome to Accounting 210 Learning module will have some things that you won't need to do for the rest of the 4 weeks. But it gives you a little bit of an introduction. It includes this video, it includes the syllabus, it includes a few tips on making this a successful class. And I encourage you to read those and pay attention to them. Okay? But then every other week will look very similar to this. Read chapter 1. There's a video that I have done for each of the 4 weeks that takes one of the concepts and provides a little bit more background and detail and understanding on it in ways that try to clarify things that I think might otherwise be confusing for some students. So, and then there are worksheets that go with each chapter. There's the quiz that goes with each chapter. Chapter 2, worksheets and quiz. You see the theme here? Chapter 3, worksheets. And the video for week 1 is associated with chapter 3. So you will view that and then post your response to the assigned question. There'll be a quiz for chapter 3 and then again the test at the end of the week. Okay? And each of the 4 weeks looks very similar. Now I'm going to shift here a moment to the Blackboard site to show you what in fact, to help you to see what's there. This is the welcome section that I had talked about that has a variety of things, the syllabus, a really brief bio on me so you get some sense perhaps if you're interested about who I am. A few important tips, I think, especially if you haven't done an online asynchronous course before, I think will be helpful for you to read that one document. This video will be posted there. Information on accessing MindTap in case you have questions about it. And then, importantly, a description of every one of the assignments is here. Okay? And my descriptions are about a page long. They're pretty in-depth. So I encourage you strongly to take the time to read them. There's also a general sense of what my grading criteria will be for each of those, but there's also a grading matrix that's associated with each of these that you will find linked to the place where you will post your assignment. I'm always somewhat surprised at the fact that students sometimes don't pay attention to the grading rubric, which is certainly your choice. But if you're at all concerned about what your grade would be, then it probably makes sense to consider what it is that I'm looking for when I in fact do the grading. Okay, so just a tip. Each week then it will be similar. I'm going to show you week 2 because it shows you when there are options around the videos. So there will be, here's the discussion board for week 2. Will look like this. There's nothing posted yet, so somebody will begin it. It gives you the deadline, and it also gives you a grading rubric. Each of these will give you the rubric so that you can look and see what, in fact, for the quality of comments, for how well you connected to class materials, and for the quantity of comments, right? So you can look at that. You will find a rubric actually for each one of the assignments that are assigned in this class. There's the video that I've done, which kind of explains a material that I think will be helpful to putting some of the other material you're reading in context. And there's a PowerPoint that accompanies that should you be interested in looking at the PowerPoint. You read chapter 4 because we've done the first 3 chapters. You start chapter 4 in week 2. There's the 3 worksheets. When you click on this, it will automatically take you to the chapter. I'm already logged into MindTap, so I don't have to worry about signing in. The first time you will. After that, it should move seamlessly like this. In a moment. There we go. And it takes you right to the chapter. You can read each of the sections. Okay. The same is true for each of the worksheets. It will take you right to the worksheets. It will take you to the video. Now you will see here it says video reaction paper for week 2, 4.1, 5.1, or 6.3. The videos are associated below chapter 4 material, chapter 5 material, and chapter 6 material. You only need to write a paper on one of those, okay? And when you, if you haven't done this on Blackboard before, though I'm assuming all of you have, you will, there's a description of the assignment again here. There is a grading rubric, and you will post your submission here as an attachment, please, as a Word document, because that makes it much easier for me to grade. Because I use track changes and margin comments. And so as a Word document, I can give you that kind of feedback on each of your assignments, okay? So you will post your assignment on this link. The brief hypotheticals will be your quiz, which is graded. And then again, you do chapter 5, worksheets for chapter 5, the video exercise for chapter 5. Again, you can choose to do one of the 3, do not need to do all 3. And then finally, you will find at the end, there's a place for submitting your applied business law assignment, and then there's your test for chapters 4 to 6. The only other thing I think I probably should point out is that there are more chapters in this than we can possibly cover in, I think there are 20 chapters in the text altogether, and we only have 4 weeks, and so I get to pick and choose. So you will find that we do chapters 1 through 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 16, and 17. So don't be confused when you're skipping chapters. That is intentional on my part. The beauty of being the professor is I get to cover the things that I find most interesting, but I also have covered those things that I'm not certain that you can find as easily in other courses at Susquehanna. So that, for instance, I don't cover environmental law because you can take a class in environmental law at Susquehanna. International law is not covered because you do take a class on you can take a class on international law at Susquehanna. So I've tried to choose those things, both that interest me, but also that cover some fields that you might not otherwise cover in as much depth in another class at Susquehanna. So that's the overview for our 4 weeks together. Again, as I note, it will move pretty quickly. I'm open to having conversations with you individually or in a group should you find that at all helpful. You simply need to reach out to me. We will have our first class together that first week, and I look forward to meeting you then. Thanks a lot for your time. Take care.